Hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here from Wealthy Woman Every Day. This is the next interview that you are about to listen to or watch is amazing because it's right up my favorite alley, which has to do with money empowerment and getting your financial situation so perfectly established that you are coming from such a position of empowerment. And we know that that is a good thing and something that we're all striving to do. However, we all, of course, need the mindset, the tools, the foundational pieces. And it is sometimes a little bit overwhelming, or we don't know where to start. So I am so excited to share this next interview with you because by the time this interview is finished, you will have so many gold nuggets that you can start to create your beautiful financial future for yourself or continue adding to it and then even take it farther by getting in touch with Julia. So let me pass it over. Julia, tell us all about you, who you are, what your website is, what your programs are, what is your big why, and how can you help women to transform their financial lives?
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm so grateful to be here with you. I really appreciate it. I love when I see other people value money as much as I do. So just to start, my name is Julia Shteynberg. I am a money coach, and my website, theluxurioussaver.com. Um, and what I do is simply empower women. Like I like to kind of like think about it that way. That's all I do. We go through life picking up all of these kind of beliefs and habits and stuff about money, really not intentionally, not kind of really knowing. And then it starts impacting us. We kind of like start seeing how it impacts us. And as I was growing up, I was really, really lucky to have a really strong financial foundation, financial kind of like education. And it wasn't like it was even like super intentional, like, my parents were like, you need to learn this. It was just really organic. We came to the States, we're immigrants, and so it was just kind of a part of daily life, right? I learned the concept of kind of trade-offs, which people really don't want to kind of talk about a lot of times, but like, kind of like learning that. I also learned how, kind of money changes your life and how learning not only to make it, but how to manage it, how to save it, how to grow it, how to hold it. Right? Like we're taught all the time, and we talk all the time in like the US about make more money, make more money, make more money. That's great, but then how do you actually hold on to it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so that's become something that's been kind of really, really important for me. So, kind of through my journey, I was in the corporate world in finance, forecasting and planning for like the first half of my career. And then I decided to leave the corporate world. It was no longer kind of doing for me what I wanted it to. And I had a moment of realization kind of during that time. I was able to leave my job. It provided 40% of our household income. And I was able to leave my job without having another job lined up. And we were fine. And we were more than fine. And we could afford our life. And we still went on vacations. And we still ate out. And we still saved. So, kind of seeing that gave me this kind of like realization that like that's a really powerful thing. And I realized a lot of people don't know how to do that. And it creates so much freedom in your life when you can do that. And it just kind of like, noticing my own journey too, kind of with the whole concept of like golden handcuffs and like kind of stuck to your job because like you're stuck to like the money that it provides. Right. And like letting go of that, like you're kind of like, that's really scary. I don't know what's going to happen with my life. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I just kind of realized the importance and we kind of started piecing all that kind of stuff together. And I was like, I have something that I really want to share with the world and specifically with women, specifically with women. Someone just kind of pointed this out to me the other day. Like women have only really been allowed to hold money for like, was it like less like 100 years or something? I don't know what the exact numbers are. So it's like we don't have the history, right? Like all of our socialization, all of the culture, all the different cultures, it's all, nothing has prepared us how to think about money, right? How to manage money, how to talk about money, to talk about money. It's actually the opposite. Like all ever, nobody wants to talk about money. I was like, oh, it's not nice. Like you don't talk about it local, or it's cheap, or it's like uncouth or whatever. So I am just really excited to be doing this work to helping women see their power, see that they know more than they think that they know, right? And also just teach them some basic mindset tools, shifts, tactical tools and shifts, how to think about it, how to think about it so that you're feeling emotionally well around it too. Because that's the other piece, right? Is the emotional component of money.
That's actually such a huge, you make so many great points, and I can completely understand what you are talking about because this is my field as well. And it's so often that we can be ambitious, we can make the money, but we sometimes don't know how to hold it. And I know that was the case for myself. It's a little bit what you were saying. The history of women with money is so short. And when you think about it, even if it was, let's say, 100 years, just for the sake of argument, in those 100 years, there was, you weren't polite if you were a woman who talked about money. So when you think about it, women talking about money, where there's this free talk now, it has to be less than 5 years, in my opinion. I don't
Yeah.
think it's been that long, maybe 10. And so now we have platforms where we're getting more comfortable changing those old habits or dynamics or socialized ways of being. And it is no wonder that, we need a little guidance and we need help with this because it's new territory for us. And this is fantastic, fabulous news, but it is still a learning curve for most of us women. And when you're talking about the mindset part, the emotional part, example, I personally understand this so much. It's actually the main reason I became myself a money mindset coach, or, focusing on empowerment for women, because I was able to make the money. And then I thought I wanted to give it all away to show my love and be rewarded with love back, right? Because that is also for men as well, but for women, that emotional connection or letting someone know I love you by giving away your assets, so to speak, thinking that you're going to be thanked and loved beautifully more. Sometimes it doesn't always work out that way. And it can go, in a way that you didn't plan. And then you have to really say, oh, okay, so there's an emotional part that has nothing to do with money. So what's that about? Let's fix that broken belief or mindset so that
Mhm.
we can have a better, healthier relationship with money and all the other things, right? And so I think for women, that's why I love what you do, because this mindset work is really so important, because we don't always know how we're getting in our own way and tripping ourselves up. And so maybe you can tell us a little bit about those transformations that you can do with your programs to help women not only, like, break these belief systems or create new habits that will support them in this new world, let's just say. But yeah, tell us a little bit more. But I love so much the work that you're doing,
Yeah.
because all of us women need this foundation of financial health. It is
Yeah.
so important. We're so focused on our relationship health, and that is absolutely important. Our physical health, absolutely important. But sometimes we just let the financial part fall in the back a little bit. And we need to have everything, all engines running to be successful in the full holistic way of life, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's interesting that it's a very great segue actually that you say how, we take care of all of these other areas in our lives, and financial usually kind of like lags. What I have found with my clients is that once they start getting their financials in order, that is actually the trigger that helps them realize their power in other areas of their life,
Mhm.
specifically around relationships, specifically around career, right? There is something so fundamental about kind of feeling in control and feeling at peace and feeling confident and clear, right, with your money, that then those skills, those emotions, I don't know, for lack of a better word, right, those all start translating actually into other areas of your life.
Yes.
So the money piece is actually, you know, kind of, I feel like the money piece is like kind of like the center point, and then it starts kind of impacting other areas, which is like so beautiful.
It
So
is
I'm
so
glad that you
true.
said that. Yeah.
It's true, right? Because all of a sudden, you know what it translates to is it's not about like you creating an investment for yourself or a bank balance or, working, raising your prices. What it all of that means is you are bringing yourself up in self-worth. And that
Yes.
confidence shows up in all the other
Yes.
areas, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes. God, I love that. I was actually just talking to my client about that the other day. It's not only your self-worth, you are elevating your life. You are elevating the standards of your life for yourself. So once you elevate the standards of life for yourself, you will never let others treat you with like less standards. You will never, well, you can't control how they treat you. It's more, you will not accept
That's right.
different level of
That
treatment and different
that
level of
is
standards.
absolutely. I could not agree with you more. Because you are getting your worth from your own actions.
Yep.
Instead, sometimes as women, we occasionally rely on our worth being determined by outside people,
Yes.
right? Whether it's a
Yes.
spouse, a friend, or our boss, if we have a regular job, it's all of this outside. Do you approve of me? Do you approve of me? And you get to
Yes.
a point, right, where you're like, hey, I approve of me and I'm going to show up for myself. And the first way I'm going to show up for myself is making myself get out of this financial stress and
Mhm.
creating a peace that I can operate from. And then,
Mhm.
like you said, every single other part of your life lines up because you no longer accept to be in any kind of emotional stress because
Yeah.
you know how to fix it yourself. And so you know you can count on yourself. And
Yes.
that is the thing. We're a little shaky until we realize kind of what you said before. We know more than we think we do. We have
Mhm.
more power than we give ourselves credit for.
Mhm.
And we are allowed to create boundaries that protect us. And it doesn't mean we're going to alienate the proper people for us. There's
Absolutely.
wrong people and let them lead. But there's the right people, and the right people will respect your boundaries and the foundations that you've created for yourself, and they'll enhance your life. So,
100%. And I want to talk a little bit more about this concept of validation, like internal and external. And that's something that I've been exploring a lot with my clients lately. You know, it's everybody wants external validation. It's so normal, right? It's
normal.
so normal. Um, and I think it's really, really hard for us to create our own internal validation that's strong enough where you don't need external, you still want it. Like we're all still human, right? We have emotions
Absolutely.
and all that stuff.
Mhm.
But there's a difference between wanting it and needing it, right? There's a difference between the need that you can kind of create for yourself. So one of the things that we do in like with my coaching programs is one, highlight that, right? So like, I mean, I don't have to tell you, but like the beauty of coaching is like, right, you see patterns like that people that don't see for themselves. And not only is it like tactical, like money patterns, but it's also emotional patterns, it's habits and all that kind of stuff. So one of my actually current client, we're working a lot on the concept of internal validation and working on specific, I've given her like a lot of different tools to use, tools that I have learned to implement myself, right? Like I'm not teaching somebody anything that I don't do myself. So it's like once I learn a new way to kind of help myself grow, I'm right away like sharing that with all of my clients, right? So like, so I'm happy to share like one of the things that I really, really, really encourage people to do. And it feels very silly at first. I'll be very honest. It feels very silly. But I was like, I started this and I was like, it's silly, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I created an accomplishments list for myself. And what goes on this accomplishments list, it's not just like finished my to-dos. It's stuff like stood up for myself at the salad bar. I told them, don't put this, right? Like it's these things that we just kind of like quiet ourselves and we're like, ah, it's fine. It's okay. I don't mind, right? It's that kind of stuff. It's stuff like, hey, like I was just talking to my client, she was aware that she was in a state of overwhelm. And like that is a massive shift for her. Like before, she would just kind of be overwhelmed and start spinning, and it just kind of like it starts snowballing, right? And like on this call, she was just like, I realize where I am. And I was like, hold on, that goes on your accomplishments list, right? And as we start building these accomplishments lists, this becomes a reference for yourself so that you no longer need the external validation. You have proof that you can do it yourself. You have proof of how, right? So then you can use those same tools, the same things in other situations. So like I love this tool for myself and I
Oh,
hope everybody would use it.
wow. I love this because my to-do list that I get so excited to do the check off marks. I love that. But
Yeah.
this is a whole new thing I'm going to start creating. And you know what's so great too, along with what you're saying, the benefits are of this. You will also be able to reflect and realize that when you, let's say, stood up for yourself, the world didn't fall apart. You didn't
Yeah.
get left. No one alienated you. Alienated? Yeah, that's the right word. You know, like it did not fall apart. And like,
Right.
okay, because I think that's our biggest fear. You know, sometimes we tend to be the people pleasers. So we
Oh,
quiet
yeah.
ourselves, and again, we have to remember to, let us not blame ourselves for that. Let us just grow a little bit each and every moment, and we'll get better and stronger and realize, okay, this is the new normal, and it's okay. And I am, I am giving myself permission. So I
Yes.
absolutely love that because that's something everybody can implement immediately and get the results. That's
Yeah.
good. That's
Thank you.
really good.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we get on to, well, tell us a little bit more. Like what does it look like for someone to like work with you? Like,
Yeah.
what does that look like?
Yeah. So I work one-on-one coaching. I think that's like personally that gives me the most fulfillment because I see people's change and journey and growth, and it's incredible just to see them cry and see them recognize their own strength and all of that. So we start, kind of like with a set program, and the client's journey, like they really go through kind of like really like a four-step process. There's like belief, there's awareness, there's goal creation, and then there's execution. So those are kind of like the four basic steps that kind of like weave their way kind of through my entire program. But the thing about it is once somebody encounters one like level of growth, it unlocks another area, right? So you kind of continue to use this same process. It's really, really simple. It's like just those four things, but they start like you implement them kind of consistently. You work them into the program consistently, right? So like the belief, and the first step of the belief is like, hey, do you even believe that you can change your financial situation? And there's a lot of that, right? And then there's the work on like their own kind of limiting beliefs and what have they learned and what have they experienced. And then there's also the work of, and that's kind of more the goal stuff. Like, well, what do you want to believe? Like, where do you want your life to be? And what do we have to believe in order to kind of make that happen? So there's that. And then we get into the more like tactical stuff, which is also kind of tied into belief, is like the awareness, kind of really kind of as we kind of talk in the coaching sessions, understanding kind of like what their week looks like, we kind of point out and unravel a lot of patterns, a lot of thoughts that they didn't realize that they have that's actually creating their actions, right?
Mhm.
So there's that piece. And then also like the actual financial tactical piece. Like we will go through your entire personal cash flow, right? And we're going to see where things are going. It's kind of like an audit. Like where's your money going? Is it going towards your values? I'm a big believer in, your money should be aligned with your values. I had a session with my client the other day, and it's so interesting how people say this, women say this. She's like, well, I don't spend on like frivolous stuff like purses and bags. She's like, I spend like on things that like I love, making my home beautiful. And I'm just like, there's nothing wrong with spending on purses and bags if this is
That's right.
aligns to your
Mhm.
values. And there's
Exactly.
nothing wrong with spending on making a beautiful home, right? It's like, so we've got these judgments that like are
We have to
inside.
apologize for everything.
Yes. Yes, like
Mm,
I love spending on money and bags. I will spend on money and bags. I'm not
yes.
going to sacrifice my future for it, but I will. That's important to me. So we go through that, like the audit piece, and then we go through kind of goals. The other piece is like people never really take the time to stop and be like, where do I want to be in my life? Right? They just kind of they get
On
a
the
job,
hamster wheel.
hamster
Hmm.
wheel, hamster
Yep.
wheel. So a lot of times, like the first two, three, four, 5 times you ask yourself that question, you're gonna get hit with, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. Right. But then as like we talk and I ask you deeper questions and we uncover things that like you realize are your values, we start crafting your vision. Right. And as we craft your vision, that's your goal.
I love this so much. And we already spoke, but you know how much I believe in this. In fact, the whole reason why I became a money mindset coach myself was because I thought I knew myself. I was explaining. I meditate, I do yoga, I walk in nature, I'm self-reflective. And I had a time in my life where I've always been ambitious and I've always been achieving goals, but I had the ambition, but I wasn't making a forward movement and I could not get out of my own way. It was a major block and it lasted probably around 2 years and I just could not figure it out. And the source of it was something kind of like I related to it earlier is that I just sort of gave it had to do with a house and I shared it with somebody and it fell apart because the other person didn't fulfill their obligation. And I kind of got basically self-sabotaged and I never saw it coming. And then that kept me frozen for a while. And I didn't know what my block was, but I went this is why I believe in everyone should have a coach. I truly believe it, especially about money mindset stuff. So find one that you resonate with, who you feel that connection with, and book a call with them because book a call with you, Julia, because you're
And
amazing at what
you,
you do.
thank you.
Yeah, but we're here for you today. So, but in this moment, I went to a seminar with a great coach and I knew I was stuck and I was sick of it. I couldn't figure it out. I get up on stage with her. Within 20 minutes, she helps me figure out what my problem is. And the fact is that the simple side of it is she says, you are not allowing yourself to make money because you just assume you're going to lose it again. And so you're stuck. And I said, oh, and a little bit more came from that. But first of all, it was immediate transformation. I was done being stuck because now I could see what the heck it was. And it made sense to me. Oh, well, that's kind of makes sense. I worked so hard. I achieved something. I gave my assets away and I lost. Of course, I was bruised. I was hurting. I was sad and I was deflated and all those things. So I might have had the ambition, but I didn't have the full thing that I used to have. It was lost and I couldn't find it. And anyway, so that fixed everything. And then when I realized how powerful coaching is, that someone could change it for me, I was immediately convinced. And I said, I need to become a money mindset coach too. I want to help other women to not make that mistake maybe that I made, or be able to see things they can't see in themselves. And so, and what you spoke about, when you have your financial health in order and that self-worth comes in, you start making every part of your life better. So that's why I'm so thrilled that you're here, Julia, because the work that you're doing, this is a movement for women. And we need all the women we can to help other women be unapologetic
Yes.
about their worth, their value, their ability to earn money, to be the breadwinner of the family and not worry about pinching toes. No, this time is over. And we can do it in a graceful, beautiful way, but let's move forward with that. So I love your work. Love, love, love what you're doing. Yes. So go ahead and tell us your website address so
Yes.
people can find out about your programs.
Yes, it is theluxurioussaver.com. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. So if you just type in my first and last name, I guarantee there is no other Julia Shteynberg out there. So
Perfect. You
yes.
Our internet cut out for a second. So can you just repeat your email address I mean, not your email, your website address one more time so everybody does hear it.
Absolutely.
It was
The
just a second.
Oh, okay. TheLuxuriousSaver.com. And like
Okay, it
full
was the
word
dot
luxurious,
com.
full word saver. Yes.
Perfect. It was the dot com that got lost, and I
Gotcha.
didn't want to I want to make sure everyone got that straight. Okay, so lovely ladies, you know what happens next. It is the success questions. So, on your journey to building your business, even if you've been doing it for a while, on your journey to building your wealth, your relationships, your health, all of this, all of these success questions are designed to help you realize one, you're not alone. Two, there are solutions that other people may have come up with that can help you along your way. So these success questions are wonderful. And Julia, I'm sure that it's been a beautiful experience for you running your whole business and making it grow. And let's find out about some of that. So,
Okay.
oh, I see. 1 second. Let me just get my questions ready. Okay, so one of my favorite questions that I like to ask right in the beginning is if you could only choose one answer, what is the number one way that building your business has enriched your life? And why would you recommend it for other women to build their own businesses?
Ooh, juicy. Okay. Um, I think building your own business, how do I say this, is the greatest source of personal growth. I mean, you don't even realize not only how much you learn, how much you are capable of. You don't realize the resilience that you have to build within yourself, that resilience muscle. There is so much. It's one thing to work for an organization where you have external structure. Working for yourself is the most challenging, to be completely honest, yet so rewarding in the sense of like, I'm really doing this. Like I'm creating this structure for myself and seeing how it leads to other success and seeing yourself learn new skills and break through problems and issues that you didn't even realize existed and didn't even realize you had the capacity in you to do. Like there is so much pride in yourself. There's a lot of emotional turbulence, but
Absolutely.
it's so rewarding. Like it gives you the biggest sense of confidence and strength. Yeah.
I I could not agree with you more. I always think for me, building a business and traveling, especially solo traveling, is the biggest confidence boosters because you realize, wow, I am so capable. And even if it doesn't work out perfectly, that's okay because you find a way through it, over it, under it. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter. And then you know, oh, I'm resourceful. And these are things that you learn. And not only that, I'm sure you would agree. Once you realize that you're capable of creating a business that serves others, allows you to make money to sustain it, then you have the space where you can really start to be creative and design it in a way that really makes you joyful. You spoke about your client that she was feeling so overwhelmed. And I get that because that's one of the worst feelings in the world. And all of us business owners, especially in the beginning, feel it. It's part of the territory and we don't know what to do with it. And one of my coaches also had said this question, and I think it's one of the best questions. She said, ask yourself, what is the most enjoyable way that I can do this? And I
Mm.
ask myself that question when it comes to my business overall, a piece of my business, how I want to do my fitness routine, how I want to do my morning routine. All of a sudden, I become the number one important employee of my own business. And I'm like, how can I serve you, Tamara? What would make you happy? How do you want to do this? And what's lovely about having your own business is you can create that. There's no rule book. You can create
Yes.
it the way you want. And that is the fun part of it all. And
Yeah.
especially when you realize, and then another one is let it be easy. I think sometimes we feel like everything has to be so hard. No, it doesn't. And you're going to be shocked when you realize you can, there are moments when you can work less and make more and be productive
Mhm.
and serve more. And you think that you had to work triple hours to make more money. This is a mindset shift. I
Yes.
promise you, it's a mindset shift. And once you start to realize, oh, wow, it really does work, you're changed forever. I promise you that. So, yeah, I love that. I love your answer.
Thank you.
Okay, next one. This is a big thing, especially when it comes to being visible online. It's uncomfortable for all of us, but in the beginning. But how did you deal with fear and doubt when you kind of had to show up and be visible, and all of a sudden, you can't kind of hide and do your business. Everyone wants to know all about you, who you are, and you have to show up, like
Yeah.
that takes a little getting used to, right?
It does. It does. Um, I remember the first Instagram reel I did. I also remember like the first time I started posting on like LinkedIn and others, and I was so scared. Like, and it's funny, right? Because this concept of fear, you're like, what do you like? It's a fight or flight, right? It's like, I'm not gonna get eaten by a tiger, right? Like, but like
But the reptilian brain shows up no matter what.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. And I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, well, what am I scared of? I'm scared of sounding stupid. I'm scared that I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm scared that like the people around me that know me personally are gonna have all kinds of opinions about me. I'm scared that no one will read it. I'm scared that people will read it, right? Like just really honest. Like it's so scary. But I realize like you just it you do it anyway. Like you
Scared.
yeah, you can't let the emotion stop you. Like you're gonna be scared. The first time you do it, the second time you do it, the third time, and then it's a muscle, right? You learning how to do through fear becomes a stronger muscle.
Absolutely. And then it gets fun. I like it. I like it now. Like I didn't think I would, but I really it's just I don't even think about it anymore. So
Yeah.
if you're in the beginning stage, all of you beautiful women out there where you're like, oh my goodness, and you're having white knuckle and the panic and all of the things, just one of the things that helped me the most, I'd like to say this quite often on as many interviews as I can possibly remember to say it, but I always think about the service that you are building to help people. You're doing that because you want to help people and it will help people, right? So it's about you helping them. So in
Yeah.
a way, it's kind of not about you. So if you realize that by you not showing up, you can't help people, your beautiful soul that wants to be a healer in whatever capacity that you are doing your work is going to move out of the way so that you can show up for them. So that's sometimes if we anchor in to being available to serve somebody
Yeah.
else and get out of our own way and out of our own spin, it like I think that's really one of the quickest ways to clear. It's it for me anyway. I
Yeah.
mean, it
Yeah.
really helped me. So it's like, okay, wait, I can't. I don't want to miss out. Maybe I can really help someone, and if I don't show up for them, I don't want that guilt. I have a
Absolutely.
responsibility to serve somebody if I can help. So
That's a really good point. That's a really good point. It's like one of my coaches recently kind of brought that up, like more kind of more to surface. I'm like, that's kind of the thought that I lead with now more often. Like even when I'm thinking yeah, I'm creating content every time it's a little challenging, but I'm just like, okay, well, what's going to help people? Right. And then it clears through that, right? It helps
yes,
clear you through
yes.
that. So
And I
yes,
think it also helps with the imposter syndrome, right?
yes,
If you really will, if all of you women will take a look at your work, what are you trying to do? What are your services? And if you know in your heart of hearts that you can look at yourself in the mirror and you're doing your best to be of service, that doesn't mean it's going to always be a home run for your clients, but you know that your intentions are pure and good and that you're making a benefit for them, like you need to allow yourself to not like feel this like you're doing something wrong. No, you're an enhancement to them. And so, you know, we always like, and I think that's sometimes where the overgiving comes and the undercharging comes because
yeah,
we're so afraid that it's not good enough for them and we're charging money for it. And we don't want to be seen as someone that, is like taking any kind of advantage of anybody, right? But I can tell you, like, I haven't. It has yet to happen where I've met a woman business owner that has any bad intention towards anybody. Like Like on the average, we're all pure-hearted people.
Yeah,
So go out and do your work, right? What would you
agree.
say to imposter syndrome or undercharging even? Like, what do you think about
Yeah. I think it's really common. I actually had a coach that had a slightly kind of different perspective on the concept of like how much you charge, which I
that?
thought was really, really interesting. It's not about like charging your worth, right?
Okay.
Because I think people
Yep.
like say that like, well, charge your
Yeah,
worth.
maybe that's just a phrase to say.
Yeah.
And
And
I
it's
might
like,
be guilty of that too.
no, and
Yeah,
and I have been too until like she
yeah,
put it in a different perspective, right? And it's not your worth. Like your worth is immeasurable.
that's true. Good
Right?
point.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And it's
Yes.
more like, what do you think that the value of what you are teaching them, what impact does that have in their life? Right? That's more how I would think about pricing. And look, and let's be really real. Like initially, until you do gain some confidence, you probably will price yourself a little bit lower. But then as you see the impact that you're making, right? Because a new time coach, like you don't often see it right away. But as you see it, and you see the actual numbers like and how their
Yes.
wealth grows and how their wellness grows,
Yes.
right?
Indeed.
You
Yes.
start having a different perspective and different confidence on the value, and then you price it accordingly.
Yes, exactly. And I'm kind of glad that you said that because I think you're right. We just throw this term around all the time. Charge your worth, but and we don't even like really like think what does that even mean? Because that doesn't mean that everyone should be charging high ticket by no means. Like I think that there's a nice when people have a different assortment, right? And but also like when you really are desiring to serve, um you like from my point, I also want to see if I can help as many people as possible. And, not everyone has the same budgets, right? So I still want everybody to be helped. And so sometimes it becomes more about a time thing where you can go into maybe creating something where you um, can automate some of the pieces
Yeah,
so that you can free up your time and still be of service and make it a price point that is more um, you know, flexible for some people that you don't want to miss out on serving them just because they're having a scenario in their life that they're not maybe up to it. So yes, you know what? I love that you just brought this up because the pricing thing, I think the concept is when when you're feeling in a lack of confidence. Like I think people can kind of sense that, like, who am I to? I don't have enough skills. And I think that's where this concept of charge your worth comes from. It's more about your worth being your confidence, that your service is good enough. It's not necessarily a dollar tag on it.
yeah,
It's not a price point, so to say. It can be a $12 product. It doesn't matter. I think it's just about the idea of charge your worth, meaning your worth is you have worthiness and your service is worthy. And therefore, don't hold back. Go into the world and serve at whatever price point that makes sense based on what your service, can transform
absolutely.
in somebody. So,
Yeah.
I love that we talked about that because
Mhm, mhm.
you're going to make me remember not to use that phrase so quick and fast all the time. This is what's so great about it. You're always evolving and learning.
Yes,
And that's what I mean. Like, I'm so excited. Like, so often I'm so excited. My listeners or viewers get so much gold from these success stories. But quite often it is me that's getting the gold and like, oh wow,
totally.
like what you said about the empowerment to, checklist. Love
Yes,
this. Like that is beautiful. I can imagine someone doing that over the course of a year. What kind of major growth transformation will they have just by this one little fun activity they do, right?
absolutely.
It's a big deal.
Absolutely.
It's
Yep.
not a little task. Like it's a little task with gigantic results. Like beautiful.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay,
agree.
so here's another one. In the beginning, there's so many ways to market yourself or all the things you should do. If you could tell the average, person that's starting their business what might be a good first start for, marketing their business, what would you tell them?
That's great. This is a beautiful question because I think that there are points in your business where you constantly have to kind of like reevaluate that, right? Like as you're going through different stages of growth. So when you are just starting your business, what I would say is all you need to do to market is one, it's a very, very big step. One, believe in yourself as the business owner, right? You first and foremost, because you can't go out into the world like, yeah, no, I kind of help people, right? Like you have to like get like you have to be like, I help people, right? And number
Own
two,
it.
right? Oh yeah, own it,
Mhm.
100%. And number two, tell people. Like when
Mm.
you meet people, when you meet someone at the coffee shop, when you're meeting your friends, oh hey, like and it doesn't have to be in a salesy way. Like I am now a money coach, right? Like I just decided to do something different. Like I'm really excited about this, right? So if you don't tell people, they're not gonna know.
It's
It's like
so
that
true.
basic, right?
I don't know why I just had this vision as soon as you said that. If you don't tell people, how are they supposed to know? I would just, from whatever reason, my mind went to a realtor having an open house on a Saturday and Sunday. If there's nobody that knows there's an open house, no signage out there on the lawns,
Yeah,
can she expect he or she expect people to show up to look at the open house? No,
yeah,
there has to be telling. And it's so simple, really, when you think about it, but it's very important. So
yeah,
that's really great because no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what your budget is, you can you can share. That doesn't
absolutely.
cost anything. So
Absolutely.
good,
Wherever you
good,
show up in the world, whoever you talk to, right?
mhm,
Yes,
great,
absolutely.
great, great. I love that. Okay. One of my favorite questions because I'm such a like morning routine person. I've allowed my this is one of those things. I've allowed myself to have slow mornings. I used to start my day earlier and I would feel that tension, the stress, and like the rush to get it all done. And then it was this thing, well, what is the most enjoyable way you could start your day? And then I'm like, hey, yeah, I could create this. So now I allow it and nothing's gone wrong. My business is great. Everything's working. So in all other parts of my life. So it's not like it didn't work. So
Mhm.
um, what are your empowering routines? I call them wealthy woman habits that you follow each and every day. It could be a morning routine, evening routine, just something that like you do, or a couple of things that you do that you know if you don't do them, you kind of feel off and you're
Yeah,
just not the same power.
yeah. That's a really, really great question. I'm glad you asked that because like that's kind of like the phase that I'm in, realizing that I can create whatever routine I want, right? And also with that, realizing what like motivates me, what pushes me, and kind of what keeps me down and for lack of a better term, kind of like unmotivated. I was gonna say lazy, but I don't want to use the term lazy, but like kind of unmotivated. So I do a couple things. One, I started writing daily, like just kind of, and it's nothing specific. But I'll wake up. I've been trying to find a way to do it in such a way that it fits into my life. If it's because I'm not a writer by nature. Like I like numbers, I like black and white, like right. So I'm not a writer by nature. But I was like everywhere it says like everywhere you read, like in order to be a better business person to you got like the writing just like makes the juices flow. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna start writing. And I finally found a way. I'll wake up and basically like I have an office, so I'll come in here and just like the first thing that I do, I make my coffee, and I come in here and I write. And I do this without filling my head with anything on the news or Instagram or anything. Like I don't look at anything before I come to write. And another new habit that I actually implemented that like actually helps me stay writing is I will get up and do a 15-minute walk outside and then like a 10-minute stretch, like when I get home, and then I'll start my writing.
I
And
love
yeah,
yeah, it's important. You know, and I know what you're talking about. Like, I love the concept of writing. And the funny thing is I also have like an English background. And my mom, for example, when I was a kid, oh, you're so gifted at writing. You should. And you know, but it is so hard to sit. And sometimes I find myself, I like it's not, I think, am I crazy? If anyone saw me, they think I'm crazy, but I like to talk out loud to myself because sometimes when I have ideas and I speak it out loud, I can process it and
yeah,
I know where I'm going with this. And then I think, well, that's probably not so crazy because in the real, corporate world, so to speak, we get to bounce those ideas off
yeah,
colleagues and so forth. Well, who's our colleagues typically when we're sitting at home alone, in
right.
our little offices and so forth. And so, but the concept's the same, that expression, right? And then I noticed WhatsApp, they have a new feature where you can, send a message to yourself. So I'll voice record my business ideas sometimes. I might
Oh,
be like you, I take a walk in nature and thoughts just come to me. And I'm like, oh, I want to do this for this client, or this would be a great idea. And I don't have something to write it, or it's more elaborate. And I'll get my WhatsApp and I'll send myself a voice message and it, there's these things, right? When you're
yeah,
in the mood for inspiration, you have to sometimes kind of get it on paper or record
absolutely.
it, or I
Absolutely.
love that.
Yeah, and you have to get out of your head. I love the WhatsApp thing. I didn't realize that. I'm gonna take because like what I have like I use the Notes app on my
Me
iPhone.
too, as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
But
but I love
writing all the
the
time is not so easy,
I
especially from
know.
your phone. If they had a
Yeah,
voice record button where you could just like, I don't know if they do, but anyway, good points. But I love that.
yeah,
Writing is so important, or just getting your expressions out there
yes.
because yeah, and then you realize, and then you get to like kind of well, let me ask you, I'm gonna go into another direction here. Sometimes when you're inspired and you're writing something, let's say it's business ideas and you have this inspiration to do something, you're like, I'm going to implement it right away. But for whatever reason, you're hesitating, right? It just didn't happen. Maybe in real life, you just didn't really get busy, but maybe there's just something you haven't done it yet. There are times that has happened to me. And then let's say a month or so goes by and I'll circle back to that idea and I'll realize it wasn't right. And I'm glad it
Mhm.
didn't launch or I didn't implement it. And then I have to fine tune it or maybe change it. And I start to trust what happens is because I've seen this happen a couple times. And at first I'm being tough on myself, like, oh, you should have gotten that done. And why are you taking so long? Whatever that, yelling at yourself
Oh
looks like.
God, yes.
But
Yes.
then I realize it's happened more than once that I realize that I'm glad I didn't do it. And so there's something now that I feel like this must be intuitive. There's something in me that I should trust when I'm not pushing it. And that is true. Anytime that I found in my life when you have to push too hard or force yourself
Yeah,
not in alignment. And
yeah.
sometimes we think we're just supposed to get it done because we said we were going to get it done. But if you find that you're dragging yourself towards it, at least that's been my experience. And this is different than being, you know, disciplined and, maybe slacking off. That's a
Yeah,
different thing.
yeah.
I'm talking about where you really have to emotionally push yourself, even though it looks good on paper. So do you have any thoughts on that one? Any experiences that you've experienced related to that?
I do. This is so interesting because I feel like this is like such a good timing with just like where I am in my life. I used to be, and I still am, but I used to be militantly disciplined,
Yes.
like militant
Mhm.
level discipline.
Mhm.
um you know and and with time and with my own exploration of like just kind of coaching and kind of like letting myself giving myself space and all that kind of stuff, I have and I didn't it didn't bother me. I think I wanted it then, and what I'm realizing now is, I can give myself the space to let myself kind of like intuitively like feel into if things like feel right or not. Um, it's such a it's a delicate balance, I'm going to
It
tell
is
you,
delicate.
between
Yeah.
like, you know, being disciplined and kind of following with your kind of like feelings, right? Because it's really delicate because I think the difference there, because I was like just thinking about this the other day. I think the difference with the discipline versus the feelings is it's like it's a couple things. It's like I know long term, right, what I want. So I instill these kind of like practices to help me get there, right? Like I don't want to get up in the morning, but I do. But I
Mhm.
do because I know that it helps me get my day because otherwise I'm in my bathrobe till 11 and I'm like, well, as luscious as that feels, but that I also know that like that's gonna get
That's
old.
okay too.
Well, number one, that's okay too when
Yeah.
when I want it because most, and that was
Yes.
the second point, like, right?
Yeah.
Like actually to share the past 2 days I didn't get up and do my walk, right? But I know that tomorrow I will. Like Right? So there is that fine, delicate balance of like the
Yes.
discipline and also like giving yourself some grace because you're,
Yes. Yes, I love this. In fact, it kind of reminded me of I totally forgot about it, but why it might be even a year ago now, I tried this whole idea because, like you, I like checking to-do
yeah.
lists off and I feel accomplished. And these are great habits because they give you confidence, they let you know what you're capable of. But also, the nice thing about allowing flow to just happen is also then you start to realize that you can also count on your inner instincts instead of
Yeah.
just, like you said, that more militant style of doing things. And so I did this a little experiment with my own self. One week, I think, I forget the timing, but I did a portion of time where I just had my to do list and showed up like I normally did. And then I did another period of time where I just said, I'm not going to have a to do list at all. And I'm just going to see if I become pretty much a couch potato watching Netflix all day, or will I actually move in the direction of the dreams I really have that are my big why?
Mhm.
Because I thought, oh, you need that list, you need to be tough on yourself, and you need to make sure you're following the habits and all the things. Well, it turns out that yes, it was definitely not structured like it was, but I still absolutely showed up for myself for the bigger picture, and I still accomplished things. And it just gave me this because I was curious, because you hear a lot, oh, the 5 a.m. club, like the
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
thing. And that's great if it works for you. I tried that too. And I didn't mind it. I liked the early part. I just didn't like having to go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock to get proper sleep because I don't eat dinner until like 7:30, 8 at night,
Yeah,
so like,
yeah.
that's just not gonna work for me. But anyway, the overall I'm trying to say is you learn that one, you can either succeed via that way, you can still succeed if you're just a flow through it person, because your big why, your big goals are going to pull you forward. You're not going to forget about them. You're not going to not want them. You're not going to think that, being too relaxed is going to keep you, they won't keep you from your goals. If your goals mean enough to you, you will show up no matter what road you take, you will get there to your destination.
And I
And
think
so
that's the key
yeah,
part. Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
that? Say again?
I think that's the key part. Like if you're really kind of like dedicated to that, if you're dedicated to getting off of autopilot, if you're dedicated to really creating a life for yourself. And like I also wanted to comment, I love what this conversation shows. I think what this conversation shows is there's no one right way to do it.
That's right.
And I
That's
think
right.
that you have to find what works for you. I am disciplined. I love discipline. I create discipline for myself because I know it works for me. I also let my like
Yes.
intuition come into play.
When you're having those days, because there's those days where you just not, you need a little bit more time to get your engines going. But then you might show up at 2 o'clock and just power through for the next 4 hours and accomplish more than you even thought you were going to accomplish. So, like, there's that flexibility. And that's one of the great beauties of being your own business owner.
Yeah.
You call the shots.
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, my last question for you before we sign off is, how do you define success? What does that look like in a day in your life? Like, what's your success day?
Is a really good question. Um, hmm. That you could tell I've been kind of like struggling with that a little bit myself.
Because there's so many different aspects,
There's so
really.
many
So,
different
yeah, yeah,
aspects. Yeah. I think I define success in a way that is I I am proud of myself at the end of the day. And that can take different forms. I could
mhm,
be proud of myself for sticking to my schedule. I could be proud of myself for listening to my intuition and letting myself rest and giving myself grace. That's what happened over the past 2 weeks. I was not feeling well. And instead of
mhm.
forcing it, I let myself rest and I'm
That's right.
proud of myself. Right.
You come back stronger when you
Come back.
give yourself that gift.
Yes. So I
Mhm.
think that's what success, like, I have finally gotten to a point, like, I trust myself. I know I will not let myself
That's
down.
it.
I
Yes.
will not. And I finally kind of come to that place, the calmness where I don't need to be militant because I know I can do hard. I know I can do hard. I can get it done, right? And I also know that sometimes my hard is to let go and let myself rest.
Yes, yes.
And
It's
I think
just,
it's
yeah, it's a nice dance. It's a balance between
yeah,
all real life, and what
life.
comes into real life. And,
Yeah.
and we need to have that flexibility and realize that we don't have to spin out when we get off, so-called off track. We're not off track.
Yeah.
It's exactly how it's supposed to be. And so
100%.
I love this. Oh my God. What a great interview. You
Yeah.
are amazing.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
you're
I love
amazing.
it. Oh, thank you so much. We're all
We're both
amazing.
amazing. We're all amazing.
Fantastic. I love it. Okay, so before we sign off, just one more time, let people know where they can find you again so they can find out all about your beautiful work that you're doing and how you can, help them to create these better lives that go beyond the finances. They're going to get financial health with you, but then there's all of the benefits that come along with that, which is an improved overall experience of life. So, what's your website one more time?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for asking. My website is theluxurioussaver.com. I'm also on LinkedIn, just my first and last name. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. Come connect with me. I have more content on LinkedIn. Facebook and Instagram is a little bit more just kind of like my life here in Madrid and stuff. So, but I do some work stuff on there too. So yes, come
I
connect
love it. Love it. Thank you so very much for
with you.
sharing your wealth of wisdom and just truly inspired by your work. So many gold nuggets in this beautiful interview, and I just really appreciate you being here. So, I promised you, all you beautiful, wealthy women out there, that you were going to be able to enjoy and be inspired by a really important conversation around money health. Let's get the money health as a top priority here because it is going to complement the relationship and the physical health as well. We want all of our engines firing and in proper order. So you want to get everything going and you can do it. Go for your dreams. Take your big and small steps, whatever that looks like. And just, if it's in your heart, it's meant for you. So just keep going forward. It wouldn't be in your heart if it wasn't meant for you. So just keep following and moving forward. That's what I would leave you with. So until next time, keep going for your dreams and see you. See you soon. Bye for now.